Welcome to another edition of Fourth and Pain, the only football and pro wrestling show to be hosted by an NFL player and a weight loss champion. With me, as always, is Redskins defensive end Adam Carriker.
Clearly, week one did not go the way we wanted. So my attitude is simply this: who's next?
Ooh, channeling his Goldberg and looking forward to the Green Bay Packers. Redskins defensive end Adam Carriker there. Weight loss champion, former wrestling announcer Chuck Carroll here. Be sure to give the show a follow at Fourth and Pain, where each and every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, we tweet out brand new content. Don't you dare not follow, because if you don't, you're missing a whole heap, my friend. Adam, this here is the football segment on Fourth and Pain, and kind of coming up in about 6 minutes, we're going to talk about quarterbacks and kind of the flavor of the month. Has it already changed? But we're going to start with
We're also going to talk about a little betrayal that you have at the Chuck Carroll household, but we'll save that for 6 minutes. I'm not letting you off the hook that easy, my friend.
I was just trying to sweep that under the rug a little bit, but we'll get to that in a second. But we start with the Monday night opener, the Philadelphia Eagles. Things did not go according to plan for Robert Griffin III and the Washington Redskins in his return. They fall 33-27. And for me, Adam, this was really a game of three quarters versus one quarter. Not even a tale of two halves. 3 quarters versus 1 quarter. For the first 3 quarters, save that Alfred Morris touchdown at the end of the third, this was a really kind of just porous-looking team that had an awful lot of problems that needed to be addressed. In that fourth quarter, this was a team that looked to me like it had won 7 straight games and won its first NFC East title since 1999. It looked to me like the playoff Redskins of 2012. So I'm curious what you kind of saw in this game, having had an opportunity to take it all in.
Last night, like last year, I kind of knew I would be on IR and I'd watch most of the games once I got hurt. Last night was particularly tough because I know I'm working towards getting back and I want to be back. And last night was just really tough to watch. Obviously, for the fans, for me in particular, I was kind of driving Angie off the wall. What we saw last night was a few things. First of all, give the Eagles credit. They came out and they played well. They looked good on offense. That Oregon offense that Chip Kelly has brought with him looks very good so far. We were at a disadvantage, not making excuses whatsoever, but just I think John Gruden said it best when he said the Washington, because they didn't show a lot of this stuff in preseason, the Eagles didn't. He said the Washington Redskins are trying to solve a riddle and they didn't know what the riddle was. Now, the team that the Eagles play next, they've got week one to look at, so they've got a lot more to prepare for. Not that we didn't have Oregon film and so on and so forth to look at from the past few years of Chip Kelly, but you don't know what he's going to bring, what he's going to change. You don't know exactly what he's going to do. And those are excuses that people probably don't want to hear, but it's part of football. And the next time we play them, I guarantee it will be a different story. Now, from the Redskins, obviously, the first couple 2.5 quarters wasn't what we want to see. It wasn't good. But what I liked, and what I saw that impressed me, and what did not surprise me, because I'm around these guys on a daily basis, is the way they fought back. The way we're an onside kick recovery away from being 40 yards away from winning that game with 1:14 on the clock. Think about that. We almost got that ball down by 6. We got 1:14 on the clock at about their 40-45. Could have won that game, but one of the greatest comebacks in Monday Night Football history. So the way they fought back, the way they did not give up, the way they showed heart, which again doesn't surprise me. I see how these guys work every day. That makes me very proud.
Well, yeah, there's something to be said for that. You focus on that fourth quarter. I mean, I just got to look at the kind of issues that continue to plague this team. The secondary giving up just gobs of yardage. I remember sitting in the press box and counting with Grant Paulson the number of and it was a staggering amount. The number of plays of 10 yards or more that the secondary allowed in the first half alone. I believe by the close of the first quarter, it was already at 10 or more, if not very close. I mean, and then you go back to the tackling issue. Guys weren't wrapping up. They were just kind of hitting. And as such, the Philadelphia Eagles guys, they were able to bounce off and continue to progress. So a lot of these issues are the same ones that kind of plagued Washington, not just last year, but in the seasons prior to that. It's kind of the same old story. And just, I think to the fans, in all honesty, it's kind of It's alarming is what it is. It's absolutely alarming. Like, was last year too good to be true, or was the fourth quarter the true story? And so that's kind of where the Redskins fan base has their heads wrapped around. And that's kind of, I honestly believe, where media insiders are kind of skeptical as well. Now, there are obviously some positives. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Robert Griffin III. He goes 30 of 49 for 329 yards passing, including two touchdowns. He did have the 2 picks. He only had 5 last year. But those completions with 30 and the pass attempts and the passing yards, all of those career highs. So really, what do you take away as a Redskins fan? A lot will be determined against the Packers. That's what I'm saying moving forward. This team is TBD. Don't write it off, but don't go all in just yet.
I understand that. And trust me, that as a guy who has to watch, and I know when I go into the facility today and I see the guys there, nobody's going to be happy. Nobody's going to be high-fiving, giving hugs. There's going to be none of that. There's obviously stuff to work on the defensive side of the ball. I think Robert played well in the fourth quarter once he got back into the flow of playing in a football game. So I think what I take away is there's things that need to be worked on, but at the same time, you've got a team with heart and you've got a quarterback who was really catching on late in that game. And I think rolling into weeks 2 and weeks 3, he's going to really find his rhythm.
All right, now let's kind of adapt that more on a national scale here on Fourth and Pain with Redskins defensive end Adam Carriker and me, Chuck Carroll. Everybody kind of thought that this pistol, this read option, was going to be the flavor of the month. And you know what I was thinking? Well, maybe there's something to that until the fourth quarter. But then you look at the performances turned out also by Russell Wilson and Colin Kaepernick. Now, everybody said that those guys would also be stopped with a year of film on them, but they come out and they have themselves pretty good games in week 1. So flavor of the month, or are these guys really going to be legit? Is this read option mobile quarterback era going to continue into 2013?
It's interesting because Kaepernick and Wilson, and we saw a lot of pistol offenses across the whole entire country last weekend in college football and the NFL football. A lot of people are incorporating it, even if they don't have per se running quarterbacks. And obviously, if you do, you want to incorporate it. But obviously, this applies to Robert because this is what he runs, and also on a national scale, like we talked about with Kaepernick and Russell. The difference between this and per se the Wildcat, which came out about 4 or 5 years ago and took over the NFL, and a lot of guys were getting drafted just to run the Wildcat, and then the defensive coordinators had an offseason. They kind of figured out how to shut it down. The difference is this: Kaepernick, Russell Wilson, RG3 are very good passers. They don't just run; they can pass. So if you make them sit in the pocket and pass, they can do that. And to me, that's why it worked.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting going forward. And to me, kind of the way that I stand at this, it's the old analogy. I love this. It was actually, I take this from a basketball movie called Blue Chips. And at one point, the coach said, you know what, we can put down on a piece of paper, send it over into the opposing team's locker room, tell them exactly what it is we're going to do. But as long as we execute it as we should, there's nothing that they're going to be able to do to stop us. And so with that kind of mentality, which I believe in, you can have all the film in the world on Robert Griffin III, on Colin Kaepernick, Russell Wilson, any of these quarterbacks in the NFL, but if they go out there and they perform as they can, as they have been, defenses for years to come, I believe, are going to have a difficult time stopping it. And let's not forget, offenses can adapt just as defenses do. So I'm not really ready to go ahead and say, you know what, it was just a flash in the pan. 2012 was fun, but 2013, the era of the defense has returned.
I completely agree with you. And we got to switch subjects because we've only got about a minute left here. Yeah, I'm not going to let you off the hook with this. That was your week 1 takeaway. My week 1 takeaway is we sit down and tape this segment, and the first thing I see before you sit down is Cowboy fans welcome here. And your girlfriend is a lovely woman, a very nice woman, but she has a humongous flaw, and so do you. You're dating a Cowboys fan.
You know what?
That's grounds for being fired, my friend.
You're
going to get dismissed. I'm going to fire you from Fourth and Pain if I can do that.
No, you can't. But secondly, you can't control.
I think I can.
No, I don't think you can. You can't control your heart, what your heart wants. Okay, I've fallen in love with this woman. Nobody's perfect. She just happens to be a really aggressive Cowboys fan. I mean, she got decked out in Cowboys gear head to toe, right down to a lovely pair of socks. Okay, I mean, t-shirt, pants, socks, the whole kit and caboodle. And she's swearing at the TV like a friggin' sailor. You would have thought that it was just a bunch of guys around the TV with a bunch of beers and wings and just swearing up a storm, having a good old time. Nope. Just my girlfriend. Love you, baby.
Well, if she's able to overlook your shortcomings, you can overlook hers.
Hey, you're a jerk. Anyway, so yeah, love you, baby. All right, so this is Fourth and Pay. We're out of time. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Adam Carriker, Redskins defensive end, number 94, largest arms on the D-line with your pumping iron tip of the week. The number one way to work your pecs, not the bench, not the incline bench. It's flies and incline flies. We'll use the dumbbells to hit those little stabilizer muscles, or just use the machines if you want to specifically target the pecs themselves. A hidden gem is the pullovers. You lay on your back, you take the dumbbell, you pull it over, and you hold it right here. It targets the lats, but what it also does is works those little teeny tiny muscles and cartilage between your ribs to give you that barrel chest look. Bodybuilders love this. Remember, today is the tomorrow you worried about yesterday, and all is well. You're welcome.